Members of the so-called G7 alliance are faced with new challenges as far as the search for a compromise candidate is concerned. The big question is, are they in the first place interested in a compromise candidate? Are there hidden forces shaping their strategies? What is the place of Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi in this alliance? Is there a move to have Kenyatta become Mudavadi's running mate or vice versa? And how does Kenyatta feel about this? What role will Eldoret North MP William Ruto, Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa, and Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka play? Sources say that President Kibaki's handlers could be warming up to the idea of backing Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi. Uhuru's supporters are reportedly not hostile to the idea if Kenyatta and Mudavadi run together with either of them as running mate. William Ruto of the United Republican Party prefers a post-election agreement.
Uhuru is my friend, so is Mudavadi, so is Kalonzo, so is everybody else. That is different. I mean, when we are talking about political office, Uhuru will not give it to me. I will not give it to him. The people of Kenya will give everybody what is due to them at the ballot.
They are in the race. They have said it, and I am in the race. So we are all trying to garner as much support as we can.
I want Kenyans to be very, very careful. Times of succession are very complicated times. And we have people very, very, very close to the powers that be, who will always want to remain in those positions. And in the process, they have a lot of influence on what happens tomorrow. It is by us putting this in public that shall help this country exert enough pressure for a peaceful, democratic change in this country.
Kenyatta's recent remarks to the effect that some of his political competitors had hoped to benefit from his tribulations at the International Criminal Court raised eyebrows.
Hata mimi bwana niko hapo. Kuna wengine ambao wanafikiria ya kwamba ati tutaogopa tukimbia ati kwa sababu tuko na makesi. Shauri yao. Hiyo ni yao. Sisi tuko huko.
Were his remarks targeted at his colleagues within the G7 or the Orange Democratic Movement and their man Prime Minister Raila Odinga?
Uhuru right now must be upset by Kibaki. And if he is not upset by Kibaki, he needs to get upset by him, especially given the support Kibaki is giving Mudavadi.
Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, we come from very far. There are few issues you understand and I understand. Katika hii taifa hakuna wazee ambao wamebaki kutuelekeza. Sisi ndio wazee ambao tutaelekeza hili taifa.
There never was a G7. What we had all along was a G2, which was Uhuru and Ruto. Then when they did the TNA launch, Ruto discovered that actually there never was even a G2. It was always G1. That is Uhuru, Mwai and Kenyatta. That was basically the entire coalition until Mudavadi came to the picture. When he came to the picture, I think Uhuru discovered that, hey, I probably will not go anywhere, especially because of the interest that supported me, shifting from me and moving now to Musalia Mudavadi.
Hiyo G7 wakaanza mambo yao. Kwanza walikuwa naambia rafiki yangu Eugene, wewe utakuwa president.
In September last year, during the burial of Minister Fred Gumo's mother in Budalangi, Mudavadi, while dismissing the G7 alliance and calls by some of them for him to ditch Odinga, seemed to imply that the fallout in the Orange Party was engineered.
Kama sungura na ufikiri umemaliza siasa. The truth is this. There's a very strong effort and determination to make sure that Raila and Mudavadi go separate ways.
Mudavadi now says he was referring to internal forces.
You remember when I was doing the rounds, there were people who thought that I should be called an adopted person in ODM. That was the first signal that there were certain people who were uneasy of me being in ODM. And then slowly they started creating the impression that I should go for governorship of Nairobi and all these things, and then saying that we come from the same zone, so somebody else should be sought elsewhere.
In talking about the separation separating him from Raila Odinga, that Musalia Mudavadi could have been talking about forces that are located within statehouse, either consciously or subconsciously. Because the biggest beneficiaries of this separation are the statehouse forces. They created a party way ahead of Musalia jumping out. And I think the execution of it was a brilliant scheme, in my view, in terms of ensuring that you don't have a Kikuyu succeeding Kibaki. The best thing to do is to take a man who is trained by Raila, take a man who is pretty much Raila-ish, he is ODM, number 2, and convert him into the candidate that will beat Raila.
If he admitted, there will be ramifications. Then you have been telling us you are fit, you are the one, you have an interest, it's your own drive. People will still question him about the honesty in terms of declarations he has made before. You know, the label is negative, and I will say it comes with some negativity. That's why he has to deny it. You are a project, you know, someone else wants to use you for his own ends.
On the other hand, critics of Prime Minister Odinga claim that the international community is behind his presidential bid.
But you also recall the WikiLeaks. Rimbaga saying, and I recall vaguely, I could be correct or not, that they had promised Raila Odinga the presidency should he back off during the accord. And all indications were that they were going to make him king.
Odinga's presidential communications manager, Barak Muluka, says that's far-fetched.
I'm not aware of any hidden hand that you would call the international community. And if there were people with information to that extent, we would of course invite them to place their facts before us. In any case, the laws are very clear that no candidate should be seeking that kind of external support and influence in the election process and its outcome.
It is also claimed that Odinga is being supported by a section of Kikuyu elites, but Muluka says that's open and they are known.
And I do not know what could be clearer than being seen with somebody in broad daylight.
10 years ago, it was Uhuru Kenyatta who earned the infamous tag of a project of then-President Daniel Arap Moi, much to his detriment. Whether or not Musalia Mudavadi is Mwai Kibaki's project, political observers will certainly be watching his every move. Alex Chamwada for the Kibaki Succession series.